Wizards of the Coast has spent the last several years doing everything in their power to defame and destroy the reputations of the original creators and developers of Dungeons & Dragons, to the point to where now one dev, the last remaining original dev, has stood up to say enough is enough. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and that's right, original Dungeons & Dragons dev blasts Wizards of the Coast after new book portrays games creators as massive bigots. These people are the epitome of evil robber barons parading as the good guys. You love to see it. You love the fact that knowing there are individuals out there, very few and far between as they may be, that were around in the early days of what would grow into be a beautiful, amazing community that I was so stoked to be a part of for many years before the complete and utter degradation. No. There are still some folks that remember what it was like and are pushing back against it. So we're going to get into this article. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I bring you nerdy news every day. And as a massive tabletop RPG guy, Badge of the Gathering player, all around Dungeons & Dragons fan, and somebody that used to just shill for Wizards of the Coast before they became the modern monstrosities they are, articles like these make me very happy. The latest attempt by Wizards of the Coast to disavow the factual history of Dungeons & Dragons has drawn an absolute fiery rebuttal from one of the game's original developers, the last living original developer, might I add. So let's just say he got a bit of a personal stake in this, because after he's dead and gone, then Wizards of the Coast has full reign to tarnish and destroy the reputation however they want, with no one alive to push back who was actually there. So this is actually a monumental moment for the game, frankly for the community as a whole, and for the culture war at large, since ever since 2014, give or take, Wizards of the Coast have been one of some of the ones leading the charge along with Disney as just these bastions of woke liberal wonderlands. The revisionist attempt in question can be found in the preface to the game's recently published history book, Dungeons & Dragons: The Making of Original D&D, 1970 through 1977. Therein, amidst teases the book's contents, current wotc designer Jason Tondreau, an absolute piece of human garbage who has not earned his position, does not deserve his position, and looks at those of us fans and paying customers and people who've been keeping the game alive for however long you've been playing with such disdain and disgust, and again, can't wait for us to get out of the hobby. Truly a monstrous individual, and you love that he's about to be put on blast. Just wait for the articulate art of words that my man uses. Takes seemingly every opportunity he could to apologize for the fact that the original version of the game was not sufficiently progressive by modern standards, in doing so suggesting that its creators were inherently bigoted themselves. In one instance, Tondreau writes, "Note that the rules for fantastic medieval wargame campaigns that make up the original D&D were created and sold to a wargaming community that was almost exclusively white middle-class men." As if there's a problem with catering a product to white middle-class men. You know, the individuals that had the money and could buy the product to make it the massive successful industry that it is now, that even allows you to have your job. Damn all those old middle-aged white men in the 70s that are the reason you are able to get a paycheck, and just riding on their coattails. The rules compiled here offer little by ways of roles for other players, again, because our original D&D was, much like Harmony Ginger and I discussed on my stream a couple of weeks ago, far more similar to war games than they were role-playing games, because that wasn't really a thing yet. D&D would be the progenitor of that as it evolved, nor indeed for anyone who wouldn't easily identify with a pulp sword and sorcery hero, said the designer. Especially before 1974, the rules made light of slavery, in addition to including other harmful content. The rules never made light of slavery. Slavers were always the bad guys. You know, you would go on these adventures and these quests to end slavery, to stop slavers, to rescue slaves, but again, whatever. Just show us how little you actually know about the history of the company and game you work for. And we got the iconic Larry Elmore art right here, which again has been retconned to make this a woman, despite Larry Elmore himself kind of denouncing that. Later on in the preface, Tondreau likewise warns readers some language in the first iteration of D&D presents a moral quandary. The documents reproduced in this book include many pages of charts and tables alongside lists of monster spells and magic items, but the game content also includes a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language. Just you wait till they list what is considered insensitive and derogatory language. It's kind of delicious. Words that are usually hurtful to anyone with a physical or mental disability, or happen to be old, fat, not conventionally attractive, indigenous, black, or a woman. Now hold on. I thought you just said that the game was marketed toward middle-aged white dudes. Now, I know what it's like growing up in nerd circles. A lot of them are, they're not conventionally attractive. A lot of them were, in fact, fat. Or, in this instance, you say they were old. Well, wasn't the target demographic, as you claimed, middle-aged white dudes? So, middle-aged white dudes who probably were old, fat, and not conventionally attractive. That in fact, was the target market. And I can't think of any derogatory terms in the original rule books for indigenous, black, or women. Like, there was nothing, there was no gatekeeping rules, there was nothing in the text that was like, haha, no indigenous black chicks allowed. Like, you're just making stuff up, which is why I'm so happy that you were called out. Some people have charitably ascribed this language to authors working from bad assumptions, he continues. In the 1970s, historical war games in America were predominantly white middle-class men. It isn't surprising that they would dub a class of soldiers the fighting man. Again, as if that's some sort of inherently bad thing to call just a simple piece of your party. But when in the pages of the expansion module Greyhawk, the description of the Queen of Chotosy dragons includes the dig at women's lib, the misogyny is revealed as a conscious choice. Or, and I know this is going to be very difficult for some to rationalize, that was a setting, that was how the politics worked in that fake setting in this fictional world. And that doesn't need to mirror how the world works in real life. Again, 1974, even by very progressive, by original medieval fictional sword and sorcery standards. Just saying. Further, Tanjiro asserts, it's an unfortunate fact that when women seldom appear in the original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed disrespectfully. Bro, what do you mean they rarely appeared? First of all, there have been notable female characters going back all throughout D&D's history. And again, Larry Elmore, arguably the most famous D&D artist of all time, is known for his art of female characters. You're blatantly lying, and the customers don't care, because the vast majority of customers aren't old school gamers like me. wotc has burned their bridge with most old school D&D and Magic the Gathering players. That's why when you use Magic the Gathering for an example, they're bringing out this whole big new starter collector's edition. Like, hey, we're pretty much relaunching the game, and these new starter editions are going to be legal until 2029. Why are they doing that? Because they need to get new customers, because their original customers aren't returning, because you burned the bridge. People aren't spending the money. The original demographics that the game had catered to, yeah, they're not coming back and spending the money anymore, because you've told them this is not for you, because you've made such changes to the lore, to the game, to the cards, to the tabletop, whatever it may be. Again, in this instance, I'm talking about Magic the Gathering, but the same is true for D&D as well. Yeah, of course you need to get new customers, because you've absolutely destroyed and sullied your fan base and the people that have been feeding you money for 20 years prior to this. Slavery appears in the original D&D not as a human tragedy, but devastated generations over centuries, but as a simple commercial transaction. Again, yes, slavers would buy and sell, because that's how slavery worked. It was a commercial transaction, but it's never lauded or applauded. It is looked at as evil. The fact of the matter is, none of this matters. This is all, we're just talking about how this is some awful, stupid, horrendous, factually inaccurate and ahistorical things that Tanjiro has said. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to what my boy is talking about. Let's get to the actual roasting of Tanjiro. Here is Rob's statement on X. To those of you guys who don't have an X account and thus cannot access Rob's post, the 50th anniversary celebration of D&D book by wotc is anything but. Judge for yourselves. And here it is. Let's get some mood music. I have to take a break from posting. The whole attack upon the old TSR has really tripped my trigger. A 50-year celebration, and this is it, of the original D&D. Authors and its supplements, Gary, Dave, Jim Ward, and Brian Bloom are gone. And that leaves me alone as the last man standing. The last author. It really is a burden watching this slanderous episode unfold, and it was done without one bat of an eyelash, a wotc fait accompli, done in such an assumptive manner as they wield the holy articles on morality, which they enact with their reprehensible judge, jury, and executioner demeanor. They are probably wincing and wondering, us? The Saints of Truth? more like snakes. Anyone who would wait until the majority of authors who created the game were gone to stick it to them in this manner is a vile snake. And just to complete the deed, do it on the 50th. Show their admirer who's in charge now. Show them who's in control of the IP. They fear those times they had no hand in creating, and they especially fear Gary Gygax. His name sends shivers down their crooked spines, and if it wasn't enough to have hounded him in life, let's do a Houdini and trample on his grave. Disgusting slime. But it's not just Gary, nor Dave and others. It is also about wanting to wipe out the success and claim it as their own. In order to do that, the fandom must be attacked as well as its history. All of it must be purged, never again allowed to exist. These people are the epitome of evil robber barons parading as the good guys. Sleight of hand bullshit from gold hobble prestidigitators who don't know fantasy or how to summon it. What they know is how to push down on their little man syndromes by stepping on those whose shoes they could never walk in. And they're preaching righteous indignation while counting their bottom lines, taking their vacations, and dreaming about their next cafe latte. Posers, one and all. We fought those establishment pukes back in the mid-70s as they gathered about a fledgling TSR to bring it down. Now it's the second round. Roblar may be little aged, but he's not dead yet. You've made a permanent enemy of many of you stupid coastal wizards. Let's see how many real magic cards you hold besides illusionary ones. For this battle, neither sought after nor wanted by me and others, is just the beginning. You'll get sick of hearing my name soon enough. It's spelled Kuntz. And it might actually be Kuntz. I'm saying Kuntz because it's kind of funny given how this is all going down. Repost this as I'm taking a few days off. Peace to my brothers. Oh! Hail Rob Kuntz. I think this is beautiful. This is what I've been talking about. This was the inspiration for my channel. As many of you know, I started off as an anti-Wizards of the Coast channel, as somebody that had been just deeply affected by the changes, alterations, and destruction of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Do I talk about video games and movies and politics and anime? Absolutely, and I love all of that stuff. But what got me inspired to start this channel, the initial thing that made little Leon go, well, I guess it wasn't really little at the time, but made a pre-monetized Leon go, it is time for me to actually stand up and say something, was the destruction of Wizards of the Coast and their IPs, the destruction of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering, was the flagrant disavowing and disregard for the Magic the Gathering tournament scene, or for the original rules and the way that the D&D world was built in favor of whatever this new modern 5th edition wheelchairs for everyone bogus is. And to see one of the original game devs say, we noticed this, we see what you're doing. Not only are you trying to erase us, you were trying to erase our history, you were trying to erase what we built, you were trying to rewrite it, claim it for your own, cut us out of the picture entirely. It will not work. At the very most, you will martyr us, and at the very least, you will completely and utterly fail. It is going to be brilliant to see individuals. I can't wait to find out what he has to say going forward, what his additional statements will be, considering, like he said, he's going to be taking a few days off. If there are individuals from the golden age, from the older years of the tabletop gaming, specifically the D&D community, days from well before I played, because I didn't start playing D&D until I was in high school, so maybe 15 or so years ago, and by that point, I mean 3.5 was king, baby. So I can't wait to see where other old heads that have been around for a long time are going to... I might reach out to Rob and ask him to be on Countercast. That might be my next course of action, because this would be one hell of a conversation if given the opportunity. So yeah, that's I think where I'm going to go. Either way, this made me incredibly happy. The way he put it was so eloquent, so succinct, so just beautiful, and completely and accurately 100% describes the monster that is Wizards of the Coast. But these are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, but anime, movies, music, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course, get involved with over 80 other vital idols. It is a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait for you to be a part of, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought. So if that sounds interesting to you, join the Discord, subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.